Staff, management, or parent company, iHeartMedia Incorporated.
Welcome to the Bartow Ford Real Animals Radio Show, your weekly voyage into Florida fishing. Presented by Hubbard's Marina, hosted by Captain Mike Anderson and Captain Dylan Hubbard.
Good morning, Tampa Bay. Captain Dylan Hubbard here at iHeartMedia Empire, News Radio WFLA for the Bartow Ford Real Animals Radio Show, presented to you by Hubbard's Marina. This morning, unfortunately, no Captain Mike Anderson. You guys are stuck with me and my two good buddies. We've got Captain Charlie Howell of Ebb and Flow Charters and my good friend, Captain Bobby Woodard from Fly 'em High Charters. And we are going to be talking fishing, Tampa Bay, tarpon, inshore, offshore, a little bit of everything today. And we've got a good run of nice weather coming up, just coming off a full moon. Now we're coming up to that last quarter moon. It is hot and steamy out on the water. And fishing's been pretty good offshore. How about inshore, guys? We'll start with you, Bobby.
Yeah, and the inshore bite's been good. Plenty of tarpon still around, stacked up in the passes, beaches, near coastal areas. The snook bite's been really good as well in those same general, near coastal areas. Redfish has been good up under the bushes, docks. General flats fishing's been pretty good. Big mangrove snapper too inshore.
Dude, mangrove snapper are clouded in Johns Pass.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot of inshore fishing, but my son and I were fishing off the dock Saturday, was it? Yeah. No, not Saturday. Today's Saturday. It was Wednesday. And they were so chummed up under the dock, you could just drop a shrimp down and lift it up slowly, and a cloud of mangrove snapper would follow the shrimp up to the surface.
Nice. Cane pole on them.
Oh, yeah. We totally were. It was a lot of fun. How about you, Charlie? What are you seeing on the water?
Same.
Yeah.
Same exact thing. I mean, with the big bait schools that have showed up in the bay, mackerel have been everywhere.
Yeah.
Mangrove snapper. We've been trying to fish a little bit deeper water because the water temperature is pretty hot. So the snook and reds have been kind of timid. First thing in the morning, you'll get on them good, but then once it starts warming up, it kind of shut down a little.
Yeah, it seems like that moving water from the full moon kind of helped everybody out and get those fish feeding a little actively. It seems like the dissolved oxygen content is the big thing right now, trying to get that early morning or nighttime bite going, and then during the day you just have to find those areas of moving water, deeper water pockets, fishing up underneath the bushes like you were saying, Bobby. And the dead bait is what I've been hearing for the redfish. Yeah. I mean, do you find redfish out in the flats this time of year, or you're just mainly focused on those dock lines and bushes?
Yeah, for sure. Dock lines and bushes for me. And the dead bait's key. Anytime the water temp's super hot, they're just so lethargic. Just throw something out, sit back and wait, and kind of, I call it hunt and peck fishing. Like we try to get on, I try to get on what I think the best bite's going to be kind of early, first couple stops of the day, try to bang out some good results. And then from that point forward, it's just kind of hunt, peck, get a little here, get a little there, move around, chase the water, chase the tide. That's kind of what I've been up to.
Yeah, same.
So you're moving with the tide, like moving north and moving south to try to keep with that moving water?
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting. Yeah, that's got to be tricky, shaking and moving like that. But the redfish cut bait, what's your favorite? Everybody seems to have their favorite cut bait, from mullet to threadfin to pinfish.
So for just general everyday flats fishing, pinfish or big threadfins. But if I'm specifically going out targeting big redfish with cut bait, I like ladyfish chunks. Go a day or two before, try to load up with some ladyfish, take them back, brine them, chop them up. Cool little tip I do actually is I use old styrofoam egg crates, and after I brine them up and cut them up, chunk them up, stick those chunks in each egg crate, throw it in the freezer, and stack them up, store them that way.
Wow, so that is some serious preparation.
That's dedication.
So you're fishing multiple days ahead of time, and your better half is sitting here in the studio. She not only let you bring a boat mold home and sit it in your yard, but you also store ladyfish somewhere in a freezer?
Yeah, I have a room of the house that's dedicated to all my fishing gear. So
You have a freezer in there too?
I don't currently, but I have in the past. I'm actually looking for a new freezer to replace the old one.
And a second home to store your ladyfish. That's impressive. So you brine the ladyfish too, huh?
Yeah, just like you would sardines or whatever. I just feel anything frozen, brining it stays on the hook better, once you toss it out in the water and, it starts thawing out.
That's interesting. So you're brining it after you freeze it?
No, I brine it before.
You brine it, then freeze it, and then when you're on the boat, you just are letting that bait thaw.
Well, I just pull a chunk out because it's already pre-chunked. So I just pull a chunk out, let it thaw out enough to get a hook through it, and the rest of it stays in the cooler, and it's not sitting there baking in the sun.
Interesting. That's really cool. Yeah. That's definitely the most unique approach that I've heard. I mean, most of the time you're just what I've always heard and seen is just cast netting bait in the morning and taking those big thread fins and cutting them in half and using those for chunk bait, or the mullet or ladyfish that you happen to encounter in the morning while catching bait. Yeah,
on a day-to-day basis, day in, day out, that's definitely an easier, less labor-intensive way of doing it. But like I said, if I've got a specific redfish, all we're doing is targeting redfish, big bull redfish, or a tournament that allows cut bait, something along those lines, yeah, a little bit of prep work goes into it.
Wait. Tournaments? There's tournaments that say what kind of bait you can use?
Well, some are artificial only. Yeah, it just depends.
Huh. I didn't know that. Not a big tournament fisherman, obviously.
Me neither anymore.
Save that stress for somebody else.
For sure.
Yeah, the tournament game is definitely high stress, and it's not for everybody.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Yeah, it's interesting though, fishing different areas. That's the cool part about it, is the tournament trail allowing you to travel and learn different bodies of water, and being able to read different bodies of water is definitely a skill. I think that's developed over time on the tournament trail.
Yeah. I never got into it big time. Like, a lot of the guys who do travel, I would just fish, local, tournaments down in the Charlotte Harbor area.
Yeah, same. The tournaments I have fished have all been local, just offshore fishing mainly. But offshore fishing, we've definitely been doing well. Red snapper season is still going on till the end of this month for private recreational anglers, and then we have until end of day August 18th for federal for hire. So there's still plenty of time left to get out there and catch those red snapper if you're interested before the season closes. And then this year, as those red snapper come to a close, you have the gag grouper open till the end of the year this year. And that's going to shift a lot next year. The FWC meeting just concluded, and a lot of people were freaking out about the gag grouper change at the FWC meeting, but that is just simply getting compliant, the FWC getting compliant with the new federal regulation that was already passed. So luckily the FWC made that change, because what a lot of people didn't realize is at that recent FWC meeting, if the commission didn't change the state regulations to match the federal regulations, there's that 3-county mix up there in the Panhandle Big Bend area. And if those counties would have opened in the spring like they normally do, there wouldn't have been a federal season whatsoever for the state of Florida next year. Because
oh wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Did you?
No.
Yeah, those little 3 counties, that short spring season they do, if the FWC commission wouldn't have closed that and gotten their season in line with the federal season, the quota is so small for 2023 that the 3 county landings probably would have landed the entire Gulf quota for gag grouper. So the feds probably would have never opened the season, and the Tampa Bay area wouldn't have seen any gag grouper access in 2023. So for everybody upset about the FWC's recent ruling on gag grouper, you shouldn't be. In Tampa Bay, you should be jumping up and down. Well, not jumping up and down. It's not great, but at least its ability to access the fishery is still there. So definitely some positive news out of the FWC meeting. Now, Charlie and Bobby are both Florida Guides Association board members with me, and we've talked a little bit about this on our board conversations. But for all of you out there, one thing that is a little scary to come out of that FWC meeting was the conversation surrounding Goliath grouper seemingly will not end. So I think you guys were all involved with that Tampa meeting. They were talking a lot about Goliath. They finally got that Goliath season opened up, that like limited harvest season. But at the tail end of that conversation, some divers down in southeast Florida got together and basically asked the commission to close 11 dive sites off the coast of like Palm Beach County. They're all inside state waters, and there are 11 different artificial reef sites, and the divers want them completely closed to fishing. No fishing within 1,000 feet of these areas. And the commission wasn't really apt to that at all and wasn't even looking at it. So at this meeting, they were just supposed to discuss potentially limiting handline gear fishing at those areas. Well, the conversation completely switched. They had public comment. Like 8 people spoke. 6 of them were fishing people like us, saying we don't really understand the need for hand lines. We don't really handline fish for Goliath grouper. I have once, and I don't recommend it to anybody. It's dangerous. So that was basically the comment is, hey, we don't want to see closures, and we don't really see the need for handline regulations. And then 2 divers got up at the end and basically said, we want to see all these areas closed. And the public comment concluded in the commissioners, Commissioner Bartow and one other guy, I think it was Hudson, were basically like, yeah, let's close them all. They're spawning aggregation sites.
Wow.
I'm like,
Oh, wow.
I was like, whoa, what just happened? I mean, we're talking about a Goliath grouper that is apparently such a healthy population now and has built back so much that they're able to open a limited harvest on this fish. And now we're worried about protecting these sites that have historically been fished. People are still fishing there to this day. So why all of a sudden are we worried about closing these spawning aggregation or potential spawning aggregation sites to fishing? And Commissioner Bartow was very hard and fast on let's close all 11 to fishing.
Is he from that area?
I think so. I don't know. But I got up. I was lucky to be the last commenter. I was like, if you guys are so worried about the impacts of fishing at these areas, I don't know about you, but I don't want to see 20 divers come into my bedroom, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
If these are spawning aggregation sites, let's close it to fishing and diving.
Yeah.
If you're closing it for the science, close it for the science.
Yeah, exactly.
Boom.
Yep.
You just hit the nail on the head. So I think the next FWC commission meeting will be a colorful one because the divers are going to come out in force, and hopefully we can meet that with fishing access representation, and we can pass that message along. If you guys really want to close this, you guys can get it closed, but it's going to be closed to you too, is the message that hopefully we'll be able to get across, which I don't really understand, but I think we all have to play nice. There's only one sandbox. You got to share it.
Right. Well, I don't know how you feel, Charlie, but I personally get a little scared when I start hearing closures based upon spawning aggregation sites.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just personally, as a specialist in tarpon.
Boca Grande.
Well, thank you. So yeah, I mean that's a very slippery slope that has been thrown around for years in the past, and we've dodged that bullet every time.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we're going to be talking more about this and hopefully hearing from you too. Remember, you can join the conversation, 1-800-969-9352. Real Animals Radio will be right back.
Having trouble finding a plumber or an electrician you can trust? A company that is clean, honest, trustworthy,
Yeah, the
reasonably
spawning
priced.
aggregation site closures are very very scary, and they do the same conversations offshore. And there's actually a whole team at NOAA Fisheries Southeast Regional Office now dedicated to identifying spawning aggregation sites. It's a little
Where do
scary.
you draw that line? I mean, Jupiter Inlet for
Yeah.
snook.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's-
you could
Yeah.
go up and down.
It's the same. Anytime they talk of closures for anything, it's
Well,
scary.
like
It's
dry
scary.
dry rocks for permit down the Keys, they're dealing with that. Was
Now
it
you can't even
Eastern
anchor
dry
there.
rocks or Western dry rocks, whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it just, I don't know, man.
It's we all scream for regulations, and then when it comes to fruition, you're like, does that really make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like everything that's going down now in the Gulf. You know,
But
Amberjack,
I mean,
cobia. It's
But it is an easier, at least for me, it's an easier pill to swallow if it's consistent across the board.
Yeah.
Like I don't allow, one user access,
Yeah.
one user group access when you don't allow another. It's open for everybody or it's closed for everybody.
yeah,
Period.
It's the same for hunting.
Yeah.
It goes the same way. The horse people, when it comes to hunting, they want everything closed to hunting so they can ride their horses.
Right.
And it's like, these guys don't get out there until freaking 8, 9, 10 in the morning anyways, whereas hunters are there 4, 5, 6 in the morning,
Yeah.
and most of the bags taken at daybreak.
Right. And they're out. They're
Yeah.
field dressing and packing out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So same thing. You always have people that people have to bitch about something.
yeah. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
It's like we were talking about before the show, is the decrease in habitat, the increase in anglers.
For sure.
And it's the same thing in diving. There's more divers out there, more recreational diving, and we all have to get along. What I don't get is, as a diver, because I dive too, as a diver, you put a dive flag out and you start diving on a spot. Fishermen, I mean, ethically, you shouldn't get right up next to a dive boat and start fishing.
Right.
So why do we have to regulate areas and close areas so divers can have access? The dive boat's on a spot, fishermen go on to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in this area, there's 11 sites within a very small area. So it's like if there's a dive boat on one, you go fish the other.
Yeah.
And if a fisherman beats you there, dive boat, sorry, go to the next one.
Yeah. Well, that's ethically speaking.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the problem.
There are a lot of non-ethical.
But I guess in that area, not being from that area, but Palm Beach, that area is so densely populated. I'm sure it's probably getting to be a problem.
And you think of down in the Keys too. I mean, I've been on dive boats down in the Keys before, and they chat. And I was like, hey, we're getting ready to pull up. Come up behind me and get on the, on the next ball.
Yeah,
So
they work together.
yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's really
They wait until the next one shows up before they leave.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Get there early, put your flag up, and hold that spot all day.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, if you're going to keep running divers out there, run boat after boat out there, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't want a 23-foot center console going in there and messing up the rest of your day.
And that's in what's that in Key Largo? What's that?
Pennycamp.
Pennicamp. The Pennicamp Reef. Yeah, there's only a certain amount of anchorages to pull up to. You know?
And there's only a certain amount of balls over there, too.
Yeah.
Hey, give it some thought. Paul just invited us to a suite at the Rays game this afternoon, babe. Yeah. He's listening to the show and he goes, I can't believe you made Anna get up this early. And I said, well, we're hanging out in St. Pete after. He goes, sweet game this afternoon.
There you go.
Nice.
So give that some
Oh,
thought.
that's us. We're back. Real Animals Radio, Saturday morning in iHeart Media Empire for the Bartow Ford Real Animals Radio Show. Captain Dylan Hubbard. We got Captain Charlie Howell and Captain Bobby Woodard in studio this morning, chatting fishing. Hopefully you'll join the conversation as well, 1-800-969-9352. If you want to bring your comments, fishing reports, questions to the show, we always welcome your calls as well. Don't forget, we've got the Bartow Ford Fishing Conversation coming up August 16th at the beautiful Bartow Ford over there in Bartow. And Captain Mike Anderson and myself and Brett Norris are going to be talking fishing. And our friends from Silver Ring Cafe are going to have some Cubans, the devil crab going, lots of great food and good conversation with Captain Brett Norris talking all about Tampa Bay saltwater fishing. And hopefully you'll join us August 16th for that event. Also, July 24th, we've got our Bass Pro Shops fishing conversation over there at the Tampa Bass Pro Shops as well. So join us for those two events. Definitely a lot of fun and great ways to get your fishing tips, tricks, and techniques in line and have your questions answered as well. So before the break, we were talking a little bit about that FWC meeting and potential Goliath grouper closure areas, which put us all a little on edge there. It's definitely a scary thought to see these areas get closed, like you were saying, Bobby, whether it could be Jupiter Inlet for snook or Boca Grande for tarpon. And, I mean, you could make the argument of the Tampa Bay fishing piers for mackerel, you know. It's
Sure.
It gets crazy, and it's definitely a slippery slope and scary precedent to set. So we're going to keep our eyes peeled on that one. And the redfish regulations were finalized.
Yes.
That was interesting to see. The Northeast region also fought for their bag limit to be decreased like the Big Bend did. So it went from 2 fish to 1 fish in the Northeast as well. And Indian River Lagoon, totally catch and release. So definitely some pretty big redfish changes that were finalized at that meeting as well. But I don't know. I think they're going to try to move that same model of the extreme regional approach to other fish as well, like snook and trout eventually.
Which they should.
Yeah.
I think that's a great model. I mean, that having it specifically regionalized, you know, because, I mean, Tampa Bay to, what was this, 2 regions before?
Yeah, it's Tampa Bay, Sarasota, Charlotte Harbor are all 3 different regions,
Yeah.
which is extremely regionalized. But they're different estuarine systems.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So
I think it's pretty cool.
I think it's a great idea, and I think that they should. I brought that up at that meeting that we had here in Tampa, that they should do that for
Yeah.
snook and all game species, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting feat to see them keep up with the data collection and the different regulations. I think it gets a little confusing for anglers just because, like, if you're traveling from Tampa Bay to Sarasota Bay is not very far. And if we get way down the road and the regulations are vastly different, it can get a little confusing for anglers. But I think that there's things out there like the Fish Rules app that really, really helps to kind of negate some of those questions. I mean, Bobby, you yourself, you fish up north out of like the Scallopin area, Homosassa. You fish down in Boca Grande. You fish Tampa Bay. I mean, essentially, you could be fishing 3 different sets of regulations in the course of a week.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, to be honest, I check before I go just to make sure there hasn't been any updates that I'm not aware of.
Well, and it's already happened. It's happened now. I mean, there's redfish are still closed south of 64, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tampa Bay or 64 north, you can keep reds, but down in Bradenton, Sarasota, Charlotte Harbor, you can't. So
Right.
That is true. And that EO, the executive order closing redfish, it still applies to snook and trout down there too, I believe, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so they've been closed for a while.
Yeah.
And that's set to expire August of this year. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that as we get closer to the expiration of that executive order. Will it be extended or renewed? Who knows? So definitely a lot to talk about this morning. Hopefully, as you guys wake up, you'll join us again, 1-800-969-9352. You can call in with your fishing reports, questions, comments, whatever. Or you can always join us on our streams on the Real Animals Facebook or Hubbard's Marina Facebook channels too. The Real Animals Radio Show will be right back.
News, traffic, and weather.
Approach.
Yeah.
I'm certainly no marine biologist, but it seems like they're at least moving in the direction of science-based.
yeah,
You know, because and they're recognizing, as Dylan, you know, you said that they are unique estuaries.
yeah,
You know, how they flow, how they drain, how, you know, whatever. Like the nutrient content, it's all unique from, you know, each other, and you have to have, you know, regulations, you know, as such. But that slippery slope, though, when it comes tournament time,
yeah.
and guys are running from Charlotte Harbor to Tampa Bay to catch 2 redfish because on average they're fatter and weigh more. You know, like.
Yeah.
Tournament time definitely gets more tricky.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm all for ending tournaments.
Oh, I am too. I mean, all the tournaments I fish now are tarpon tournaments.
Yeah.
I don't do anything inshore anymore.
Most of the tournaments are photo release tournaments.
Yeah.
And then they have like a time frame in which you can submit your photos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the Flats Masters ones down south are still, come back weigh in kind of stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like live release weigh-ins?
Yeah.
That definitely, I feel like, regulates how far you can run when you actually have to bring a fish back.
Dude, some of those guys, I mean, like I said, they run up here.
That's crazy.
There are guys for charity tournaments here that run down to Sarasota.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, dude, y'all
And I mean, some of
gas
those,
is expensive.
I mean, Mike will tell you some of those big time, like, tour guys.
Yeah.
Dude, like, I've seen them on TV before. It'd be like a Panama City tournament, and they're fishing in Louisiana. One time they ran to Texas.
Wow.
They said they knew running time, refueling time. They had a 45-minute window to catch their fish. But they knew where they were, they knew when they were going to bite, and they knew how big they were. So they run all the way over there, catch their 2 fish, they're running back, they stop to refuel. There was a barge at the field dock. They ran up there, dude, can we give you a couple $100 to literally just pull up, let us get our gas and go? And so the dude's like, yeah, sure, I don't mind. He untied and pulled up.
Wow.
They got their fuel and came back.
I've heard of guys here for like kingfish tournaments running down to the Keys.
I don't know about the Keys, but I see them every April. The Spring King of the Beach. I'm tarpon fishing in Boca Grande, and I see the big time, like Steve Pappin and those dudes. I see them all the time fishing Boca.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't get that. A buddy of mine was telling me
Well,
that
the
guys
bait,
running down to the Keys. It's like, why would you go that far?
It's the Spring King of the Beach, so the bait's, coming up, and the fish are just following them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't come that far up yet.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Biggest kingfish I've ever seen in my life was when we were living in Key West, though. It was the Meat Mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the weigh-in. Dude, what was it, like 64, I think? Something like that.
Wow.
It's a
It was big.
beast.
I know the Jim Nassett, the guy from Pro Marine, he weighed in a 65 and change kingfish at one of those tournaments.
Yeah.
That was the biggest one I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah, I don't know Jim. I know his son Taylor. He's super cool dude.
Taylor Nassett?
Yeah.
I haven't met him before.
He helps me out quite a bit when my stuff's down.
Yeah.
I'll text him, dude, I need another rush order. No problem, man, I got you.
It's always good to know those people.
Yeah.
Hey, did you ever find a place to keep your boat down there?
No.
No?
Still looking for a lift. Especially now that Eldred's is potentially selling.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
$40 million for Eldred's Marina.
Wow.
The same people that bought the fishery on the other side of the old Mercabo site.
Mm-hmm.
The same people that bought that put an offer of $40 million for Eldred's.
Wow.
So that's just going to turn the public ramp at Placida into an even bigger, crap show than what it already is.
Yeah, you've been to launch out of there.
Yeah, I gotta find a lift.
I'll be down there in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna go. My buddies called me the other day. I was like, hey, my folks are going to be out west. Nobody's going to be at the house. So y'all come down.
Nice.
I was like, is it still busy? He's like, it's starting to calm down.
Yeah.
So I always go down there when it's...
Dude, there's so many tarpon still around.
Yeah.
In Placida?
Yeah, Placida, Boca, that was generally... And there's like 4 boats fishing them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because everybody thinks, April, May, June. April, May, June. There's so many tarpon in the pass right now, man.
Yeah.
It looks like it's May.
Yeah.
You just pull in there and your screen's just like, oh, okay, I think here's a good spot.
So I'll wait until right about the beginning of August. Go down, hang out.
That's awesome.
Not have to worry about people, boats in the water.
After 4th of July, it's just like,
yeah,
the amount of people just drastically goes down.
That's crazy. Now we got some callers. People are waking up.
Nice. I wouldn't be surprised if Paul calls. Yeah, this is Paulie. Calling for that Bobby guy.
Is he another guide?
No, he's a buddy of mine. He runs a 27 contender.
Nice.
Yeah, he does well offshore. He tarpon fishes too. It's like when he comes down to Boca, he lives in St. Pete in the Old Northeast. Fishes out of the Neals, but he'll come down to Boca on the moons and rents a house down there. And he'll hit the pass in the morning, jump a couple tarpon, run offshore, do the offshore thing, come back and fish the outgoing. Jump a couple more tarpon and go back to the house.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's fun, dude.
Sounds like a fishy cat.
Every time he passes the boat by, he throws me a piece
Yeah, she likes them. She likes them because there's as a matter of fact, this text about the suite. The last one goes, good food and full liquor, beer and wine, all you can eat and all you can drink.
There you go.
Because he knows that's going to get her to go. That's going to get her to agree.
Yeah.
Hubbard's Marina. Now your captains, Mike Anderson and Dylan Hubbard.
We're back, Real Animals Saturday morning on this gorgeous Saturday with Captain Bobby Woodard and Captain Charlie Howell and myself, Captain Dylan Hubbard. Unfortunately, no Captain Mike in studio this morning, guys, so you're stuck with us. But we are getting some callers. People are waking up this morning. And remember, you can join the show, too, if you want to give us a shout with a fishing question, fishing report, whatever you want to join. 1-800-969-9352 is that phone number. Also want to give a shout out to our friends over at Affordable Roofing Systems. Remember, if you're needing a new roof or roof repair, check out our friends at Affordable Roofing Systems. They understand that your roof is a very large investment and protects most everything you own. Let Affordable Roofing Systems' 3 decades of experience in roofing knowledge guide you through that important process. Whether you need a shingle, metal, tile, or flat roof, Affordable Roofing Systems is defined by integrity, respect, and honesty, and they have a personalized and professional approach to doing business. Call Affordable Roofing Systems today at 888-397-ROOF for your free estimate, or visit their website at affordableroofingflorida.com. We've got William in Crystal River talking about regulations this morning. How are you this morning, Will?
Hey, Captains. Dylan, appreciate what you do for the area. You have a vested interest with your family's business to keep ahead of what's going on with regulations and rules. But how does a regular fisherman that's not a specifically paid captain supposed to be aware of regulations and rule changes? We just go fishing. We go out in the river or oceans and stop and anchor and fish. We don't know if we're on some protected reef that's supposedly closed for fishing. How is a normal John Q. public supposed to be on top of these regulation changes?
That is a great question, and definitely I think something a lot of people struggle with, and managers struggle with too. I know at a lot of fisheries meetings that conversation is brought up. But I would say the best way to stay on top of it would be the Fish Rules app. The FWC, the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council, the South Atlantic Fishery Management Council, they all have agreements with the Fish Rules app. So when regulations are changed by any of those entities, it is updated in the Fish Rules app very quickly, typically by FWC or by the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council. And the Fish Rules app ties into your phone's GPS, so it serves you fishing regulations based on the location of your phone. So based on where you're standing, it'll tell you.
I don't mean to stop here for a second, but if I'm out there fishing and a warden comes over and tries to give me a ticket for fishing on a closed reef area, I'm just going to say I wasn't aware. I mean, that's going to be the first thing out of my mouth. I wasn't aware that I was rule changed. I wasn't aware that I was in an area that I wasn't supposed to be doing something.
Yeah.
But again, that's what's going to happen when most of the time when these people get approached and getting a ticket. So I imagine they would give warnings out and tell you not to do it again. But a lot of people that fish don't even know what a latitude is, and don't have a GPS per se. But again, I appreciate all that you guys do. I hope the next time you have these words you're saying them, fish on. It's just hard to have all these changes and be on top of them. And I appreciate what you do for the area.
Hey,
thank you so much.
Appreciate your call, William, as always. Thank you so much for calling in and adding that to the show. I think what he was getting at was our not so much regulations, but so much the closed areas that we were talking about earlier. And those areas are going to – the discussion at the FWC meeting for closing those areas to Goliath grouper was basically stopping fishing within 1,000 yards or 1,000 feet of those sites, and they'd just be buoyed. So you wouldn't have to know lat and long or be aware of being in a closed area. This is just a very small kind of spatial closure around a artificial reef site. So it would just be buoyed, and there would be signs floating on the buoys. That's typically how they do it in those small area closures. It's when they close an area like the Madison Swanson or the Edges or the Stickies. Those closures can get tricky.
Yeah, like square miles.
Yeah, square miles, and
Right.
that's lat long, and those are boxes that they draw. But those occur, for now, only in very deep offshore waters. So we don't have to worry about those in state waters yet. But
You know, to William's point, I fished Tampa Bay, and I can't remember the last time I was approached by FWC.
That's another problem.
There's just no enforcement. And how do you see offshore in any of these closed areas? The chances of having an officer or entity come up to you to tell you that you can't fish there or give you a ticket is like slim to none.
Yeah, and that's been a big problem in a lot of those closed areas, because those closed areas specifically that I just mentioned were all to protect gag grouper and gag grouper spawning aggregation sites, and they are very, very well known, very established. There's no arguing there. There's millions of gags that conglomerate there. So the idea recently was passed of totally closing fishing access, because what was happening is trolling was permitted in those areas. So you're bottom fishing, you see someone coming, you just put it in gear, and all of a sudden you're trolling. So it became very difficult to enforce, and there was a lot of poaching going on in those areas. So actually just recently the council closed all fishing access to those areas during those spawning protection time frames to prevent that type of poaching, to make enforcement easier.
Yeah.
And that is another issue that we face, is due to the financial constraint of not having enough officers on the water, then it becomes an issue with regulations. The regulations have to be such that they're easily enforced, because there's not a lot of regulation or enforcement on the water, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that is a huge problem. There's, I think, two big issues that face us on the other side of things is having enough money to do the appropriate amount of fishery science, which to me is never enough. I mean, that's an endless black hole we could constantly throw money at and learn more about our fisheries, learn more about our ecosystems, our estuaries, our nutrient loading, all the different things that could go into fisheries science, I think is a huge black hole of financial need. And then also enforcement, because you can have the best science in the world and make the most educated, best management ideas and advice, but without enforcement, it's all useless.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then there's always going to be the person who searches for the loophole and tries to circumvent whatever regulations, with your bottom fishing and then turn to trolling.
Yeah.
That's an angler intent issue.
Mm-hmm.
You can't regulate or enforce intent of what somebody's going to do.
True.
So there's always going to be, situations, but
I know some people that look for loopholes, and
for sure.
We've got Ron from Ron's Tackle Box on the phone with our freshwater report, our freshwater guru. Ron, how are you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Fishing been real good out here. A lot of nice bass. We have a lot of running water, so we've been getting a lot of rain. So bass fishing's great. Catching a lot of nice 6-7 pounders here, even in shallow water with the heat, has been very good. And
Nice.
Using that Booyah lipless crankbait, that royalty color has been turned on real well yet.
Nice.
And using a fluke. A fluke is good. I have it's called a Northern Minnow color. It's really good, made by Bass Assassin. It's really turned on real well too. Panfish is good. A lot of shellcracker. We had a full moon. Shellcracker, bluegill are turned on good.
Nice.
Been great. Our rain's been coming late, so you could fish morning, early evening. Been excellent.
So that full moon and added rains got water moving and the fish are firing, huh?
Oh, yes. Been really good. People that have gone out, a lot of people quit fishing because of the heat, but a lot of people that are going are doing well.
Hey, Ron, quick question for you on that lipless crankbait. What retrieve has been working best? With the warmer water, I find it interesting that a faster moving bait like that would be producing.
Well, it's fast retrieve bait, and it's working well. it's a reaction bite, I believe, because it's moving it swiftly through the water. So they seem to like it. The combination of the color, the sound, the action of it, it works.
Huh.
Nice.
Compared to a
I'll
lot
have
of
to give
other
that a try.
Oh yeah, that's
sir.
Ron's go-to lure. Every week we ask him a hot lure. It's the same one every week.
I have plenty in stock. I just got 2 gross of them in, so
nice.
I sell them.
That's awesome, and he sells them because he believes in them too.
There you go.
I believe in them, and people believe in them after they use them. I guarantee it. If you don't like it, bring it back. It's the only lure I can do that with.
Well, we appreciate it, Ron. How does someone find you over there at Ron's Tackle Box?
I'm at 380 South Lake Shore Way, which is 1792 in Lake Alfred. Phone number 863-956-4990. And come on out. There's 554 lakes out here in Polk County to fish in.
That's quite a few. All right, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, Ron. Thanks for the shout.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate your freshwater report, as always. Our freshwater guru, Ron, over at Ron's Tackle Box. And the fluke, that's a soft plastic, so that's a slower moving bait. Warmer water, bass get a little lethargic, just like our redfish, I assume, right?
In my experience, yes. However, being born and raised and still living on a lake, I don't bass fish as much as I probably should.
I haven't bass fished since I was in high school, which, not to date myself, was in the mid-'90s. So.
Not to date myself, but I'm going to do it anyways. That was a good one. Yeah, I haven't bass fished that much either, but I did it a lot in college at UCF, and that was a while ago. But it was a lot of fun. I always enjoy it's bass fishing. There's something to be said about the ease of access.
Yes.
I mean, if you find a lake, and I find myself a lot of times like driving down the interstate and you see that lake off to the side with that lily padded corner that's shaded.
I bet that's loaded.
Yes. Yes. I really want to fish that.
How low is that bar fence? Can I hop over that?
What did that sign say? I passed at 80 miles an hour. That is definitely a big challenge. And I was actually driving back from the FWC meeting, and you know how sometimes it'll route you through the middle of the state down 301 coming from Jacksonville, and that's what it did on the way back. And you passed some real nice lakes out there in those country roads.
Yep.
Yeah, had my mind wandering, that's for sure.
Back when I used to do it, we used to just go to the lakes and the West Chase golf club.
Oh yeah.
And use topwaters, the little Zare puppies.
Oh,
and
nice.
then you'd get hit every cast. You'd catch a fish, and they were small, 2-3 pounds, but
action's action, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The Tides golf course, my in-laws lived on that when it was still open, and that was a really, really good pond off the 9th hole, I believe it was. But now it's closed and gated, and I think the fishing's probably even better.
Yeah.
Not that I would know, but a friend told me that behind that really tall fence, the fishing's even better. But yeah, I mean, bass fishing's a lot of fun, but the freshwater, there's something to be said about saltwater because you just never know what you're going to catch, and that's the allure to me of saltwater fishing is. And you were born and raised in Polk County,
and still live there.
And still live there today
On a lake.
Wow.
That you don't fish.
That I don't fish.
But it's beautiful to look at.
Oh, it is. Yes, sir.
That's awesome. Well, we are unfortunately up against another break here, guys. Remember, you can join us by calling in 1-800-969-9352. If you want to bring your questions, comments, fishing reports, you can bring them right there to that phone number or our Facebook feed, the Real Animals Facebook or the Hubbard's Marina. We'll be right back after these messages. Real Animals Radio.
Coastal golf course lakes. You guys fish any, as kids or
oh yeah,
now that you end up with snook or small tarpon or anything like that?
I never had a golf course lake that had snook and small tarpon, but my my buddy that I used to go to high school with, Nolan, he lived behind our high school, and it's over in Seminole, And way, way, way back behind his neighborhood was just mangrove, like forests. And if you go far enough back in there, it's like the very, very start of like Long Bayou, where it transitions to like Lake Seminole. Yeah. And there were some ponds that we found in there that were just totally enclosed with mangroves, and you'd get some decent sized micro tarpon. Yeah. Never caught snook in there.
There's a lake right behind here that holds massive snook.
Really?
That's a neighborhood secret.
Wow.
But
you are Facebook Live, just remember.
So this is the competitor's radio station on the other side of town, right?
Yeah, there's
just before you got too much more specific.
There's a lake in St. Pete.
In Tampa somewhere, there is a lake.
And actually, what is the big lake that's in St. Pete? Maggiore? Lake Maggiore?
Lake Maggiore, yeah.
Maggiore? There's snook in there.
No, really?
Yeah.
I would believe it.
And redfish.
I think any lake in Pinellas County has the ability to have snook in it, because we're not that far anywhere you go in Pinellas County from the saltwater.
And the stormwater drain system under the railroads and everything.
Yeah.
Just the other day, a guy was telling me Lake Hancock, over there. That's basically the beginning of the Peace River. It flows out of Peace Creek at the south end, and there's a stormwater control, dam or whatever you want to call it. He said he was fishing. There's a new park there. He was just fishing off the bank, and dudes were catching snook right next to him, like a week ago. Like in the summertime, they're that far up.
Wow.
So I thought those probably just live there. I don't think they came from Charlotte Harbor all the way up, and they're gonna migrate. You probably just found some residents there.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, it's like the offshore reefs on the East Coast. I didn't realize it because I never go down there. But when I went to the Snook Symposium last year, 2 years ago, that there's a resident offshore snook fishery off the East Coast.
Wow.
That they live there. They're all giant fish.
Really?
And they never move.
I think that's us. Real Animals Saturday on News Radio WFLA, the Bartow Ford Real Animals radio show presented by Hubbard's Marina. I'm your host, Captain Dylan Hubbard. No Captain Mike Anderson this morning, but we've got our good friends Captain Charlie Howell and Captain Bobby Woodard in studio this morning, chatting fishing and taking your calls at 1-800-969-9352. Our last short segment of the top of our show, our first hour, is almost up. We've been chatting a little bit about the recent FWC meeting and some of the fishing that we're seeing now, what's going on the water. We definitely got a beautiful week of weather ahead of us, another hot summertime week. The high pressure is settling in, and I've seen heat advisories, I think record-breaking heat over Oklahoma. Last night I was looking at some of the forecast modeling for some of the wave that's settling over the United States this week. And I think for 4 or 5 days, parts of Oklahoma are forecasted to be at 115 degrees.
I'm glad I don't live there.
No, thank you.
Surface of the sun temperatures. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. I don't know how I would survive. It has been hot in Tampa Bay, though. I mean, inland parts of Tampa Bay with the feels like temperature has been touching 105, 110 in areas. And this week's going to be the same. Very, very stale, stagnant water. As inshore charter captains, how do you overcome that midday? Do you just avoid the midday?
I avoid it. I'm off the water by noon most days anyways.
I got you.
And I do not do doubles.
Yeah.
I don't run the afternoon just because of thunderstorms and the temperature. So
yeah. And so doubles are more of a wintertime thing when you have people to do it? Wintertime and springtime. And then once water gets hot, the afternoon is just basically shot until late afternoon.
Yeah, well, even then you can't because you never know when the storms are going to fire off.
True.
So it's just I don't waste my time.
Yeah,
I don't waste my customers' time.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it always really disappointing to cancel due to weather, and those afternoon thunderstorms are so unpredictable. And lately, it's even been during the day. We've been seeing a lot of storms. Like, what was that? Thursday, it blew up. At least where I'm at, around Johns Pass, it went from beautiful, sunny, blue skies, calm, till all of a sudden we had a really serious flash flooding event mid-morning.
Yeah.
It wasn't even afternoon. It was pretty crazy.
I know Monday I sat up under the Gandy Bridge 2 times on my 4-hour Monday morning trip.
Wow.
And dodged other storms by having to run south or north just to get away from them because they were coming out of the southwest, so they're easy to see.
Mm-hmm.
But it disrupted my fishing plan, to say the least.
Pointed you in a different direction for sure. Yeah, and those storms this time of year got a lot of lightning in them.
Yes.
You gotta be careful with that lightning, man. It can get crazy fast and put you in a bad situation fast. And the lightning, what a lot of people don't realize, can go like, I think it's like 10 miles.
Something like that, yeah. And even in blue skies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're called blue streaks or blue strikes. You know, that's what gets guys on golf courses quite a bit, or on the water as well. You know, like, oh, I see it. It's in the distance. I'm keeping an eye on it. I'm vigilant.
Yeah.
And the next thing, boom, right on top of them.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Yeah. I don't play. If I hear thunder, I'm gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's a slippery slope for me. I've had a few close calls, but you know, as a professional, you know, safety's always, you know, number one priority on our boats. So it is that little gray area though, because you know you see it coming, you're like, okay, man, that bite's gonna fire off. You know, rig every rod in the boat, that bite's gonna fire off. But you know, last thing, especially for me with the tarpon trips, I mean, you don't want to hook a fish and then you're stuck. You know, do we cut the line or do we, you know, what do we do? You know.
Ooh,
so
that's a different ball game. I didn't even think about.
Yeah.
That would complicate things greatly.
Yeah, it depends on how hardcore the clients are.
Yeah.
I got stuck between a couple storms last month where I was back behind downtown St. Pete, and I literally had a storm on the north side of me and a storm on the south side of me, and they were moving from west to east. And I had to go to downtown St. Pete to drop off, and there was thunder and lightning all around me. I ended up ducking in a canal and just kind of waited. It was like, man, what are you going to do?
Right.
You can't move. You can't go anywhere because you're going to get wet. And I was in a dry spot. And finally, the storms moved out into the middle of the bay, and I was able to go. But I hate that. I hate being in that situation, especially when there's lightning. It's sketchy.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It puts you in a bad spot. And offshore, there's nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
So it can get a little bit sketchy in that respect. But all you can do is just try to dodge it as best you can when you see it on radar coming your way, and try our best to forecast it the day before or the morning of. But it can be tricky. One of the new tools that we're using is we're mandated to have that vessel monitoring system on the vessel. So definitely a little bit frustrating and not something I love the idea of, but it helps improve our data collection systems. But a kind of a something that was precipitated from that we didn't really account for was the added layer of vessel communication and safety. So I can pull up where the vessel's at, and then I can pull up our fancy weather system that we have, and I can actually relay to the vessel which direction to head and how far to totally avoid a storm.
That's nice.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting and very 2022 of us. But it's a lot of it's very interesting to have that increased communication through satellite communication via sat phones, and now being able to text message and email the boat as well. So it definitely is one thing that we watch closely, especially with those big weather events, and especially this time of year with red snapper season in full swing here for another couple weeks. That boat's offshore 100 miles, 6 out of 7 days a week. So communication with it is important.
For sure.
Yeah. But we are up against the top of the hour here, guys. We got another full hour coming up. Remember, you can join the conversation by giving us a shout at 1-800-969-9352. We've got our good friend Erica Allman talking about the Ladies Suncoast Tournament on the other side. So stay tuned. Don't touch that dial. Real Animals Radio will be right back.
On the thing up there, more older women dating younger men.
Okay.
What's wrong with them?
I'm an older woman dating a younger man.
Yeah, man, there's storms. That's always tricky. I mean, we joke and say that, you know, Boca has a bubble around it, because I mean, not that often that we have to deal with it, you know.
Yeah.
And it's I'm blessed that my pickup location is on a full run on plane 5 minutes from the pass. Now, I'm not always in the pass. I might be out on the beach or something, but generally speaking, I'm no more than 20 minutes, if that even, from my pickup location.
Yeah.
So I can always just haul ass back, drop them off, or if we're going to wait it out, you know, whatever the case may be, we can take cover,
Yeah.
you know, and then hop back and go back out again, you know. So that's kind of nice. But yeah, it's always that tricky. Like, I'm like, okay, well, there's no kids, there's no older people. These guys are pretty hardcore. We'll push the envelope a little bit, you know. And you see it come, and then inevitably somebody hooks up.
Yeah.
And, you know.
I did it last week, man. I was fishing, and you could see a storm. It was inland in Pinellas, but you could see it coming. I'm always on the radar, looking, seeing what's happening. And I mean, that's not that far when, you know, the grand scheme of things. I mean,
yeah, Pinellas to Gandy, yeah.
Yeah, it's not, you know, I mean, it might have been 10 miles away, and you could hear thunder. And I'm like, all right. But like I said, I mean, the snooker just firing off.
Yeah.
I get freaking 4 kids, and they're all hooked up.
Yeah.
You know, and then I had to call. I was like, hey, we got to get. But yeah, it's I hate it. I hate this time of year.
Yeah, battling the lightning.
Yeah.
And that was one of my first boating experiences.
Yeah.
Actually.
So our first date on the boat, we were fishing Tampa. It was like late after tarpon season.
So our first dates, period.
We're like snapper fishing out by the Skyway area, some rock piles or whatever. And I see it coming.
The most dramatic part of this conversation is this was your first date. You took her out fishing.
Well, one of our first dates, but it was our first fishing date.
Oh, okay.
So I see the storm coming. It's like coming from like Egmont, you know. I see it coming, and it's moving pretty fast. But dude, we're like railing the snapper and grouper, you know. And so it's getting to the point where I told him, like, okay, we got 2 choices. We run back to O'Neill's, or I've got good quality rain gear, and we pull under the bridge. She's like, I'm cool with that. I'm like, okay. You're a keeper. so we you know, loaded up and pulled over underneath the bridge, sat there, waited a little bit, pulled back out, and started fishing again. You know, I mean,
I don't think it could have outrained it anyway.
Yeah, probably not, but you know, whatever.
I had one last month where it was the only double I had booked, and I did it because it was the only day they could do it, and a storm came up on us, and I was like, all right, we could either sit here and get wet, or we can go back over to Hula Bay and potentially wait it out. And they're like, well, let's go back to the dock. And man, we got beat. When I came out of the flat, there were like 3-foot rollers coming onto the flat. And I'm like, oh, dude, it was a west wind. So I'm going south. I was like, dude, brutal. I mean, just waves over the bow.
Oh, man.
It sucked. It was terrible.
Remind me what you're on? You're in a Pathfinder?
22 Pathfinder, yeah. It was not fun.
Yeah.
And we get back to the dock, and I ended up refunding them a couple $100 because it was just
no point to get back
out. It was
out.
one of those they paid me beforehand, you know, and I hate when they do that.
I hate that, dude.
You know, because I would have probably, if they wouldn't have paid me, I would have probably just
bailed.
Yeah, just said it out. You know, we'll rebook.
Right.
You know, the day.
Wait, both of you guys take payment after the trips?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I charge a hefty deposit. Like, my deposit is probably higher than, and it's not a set amount. It depends on the length of the trip, whether it's 4, 6, or 8. It's probably higher than most guys down there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like payment after. I don't like holding somebody's money.
Yeah.
You know,
It's so funny how everybody does it so differently.
Yeah.
Everybody does it. Like, I was talking, what's crazy to me is we're the cheapest. And like, people talk about how, oh yeah, I charge $600 for an inshore charter in Tampa Bay. Dude, in Destin, a 4-hour half day in Destin is $125.
What?
I charge on a party boat. On a party boat.
Okay.
I was gonna say I wouldn't get out of bed.
No,
I literally wouldn't get out of bed.
But I'm saying a 5-hour half day here for us is $75. 4-hour half day up there is $125 on a party boat. Their inshore charters, like a 4-hour inshore, is like $800. It's crazy what they charge.
So why don't you raise your rate?
And then, well, you can't. We're already pretty high up there. But I mean, next year we're gonna have to raise rates. Everything's more expensive.
Yeah.
But as you go further west and you get into like Alabama, Mississippi, all the way to Brownsville, Texas, all of those charters have a fuel rate plus, or a charter rate plus fuel.
Yeah.
So
like all the Venice guys.
they'll charge you $600 for a half-day charter, but they bring you back to the fuel dock and they top off and hand you the fuel bill.
Yeah.
Like we did a charter out of Venice, Louisiana. It was $1,500. And I was like, that seems kind of cheap. We got back to the fuel dock. There was another $1,500 in fuel.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Hey, I know y'all are, well established and whatnot, but how does Fishing Booker affect?
Fishing Booker, it allows people to compete. Like there's a lot of boats in our area, even party boats that use Fishing Booker to fill their spots.
Yeah.
Whereas we don't.
Yeah.
And I still don't use Fishing Booker, but I finally caved to the OTA market because Fishing Booker is basically an OTA or outside travel agency, like Viator, Expedia, Groupon, all those different ones. And so.
Staff, management, or parent company, iHeartMedia Incorporated.
Welcome to the Bartow Ford Real Animals Radio Show, your weekly voyage into Florida fishing. Presented by Hubbard's Marina, hosted by Captain Mike Anderson and Captain Dylan Hubbard.
You know how I know we have a good show? We have a disclaimer. That's how you know right there. It's Captain Dylan Hubbard on News Radio 970 on the iHeartMedia Empire station for our Bartow Ford Real Animals Radio Show presented by Hubbard's Marina. This morning in studio, no Captain Mike Anderson, but we've got Captain Charlie Howell of Ebb and Flow Charters and Captain Bobby Woodard of Fly 'em High Charters. And we're chatting fishing, and the board is filling up as people wake up this morning to join us. And we've got Miss Erica Allman. She's been holding on for a while here. She's talking Suncoast Lady Anglers fishing tournaments coming up, right, Erica? How are you this morning?
I'm good. Yeah, it's next week, actually. Can you believe it?
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yeah, something like that. We held our first ladies fishing seminar, though, Wednesday night. We had 45 women show up, plus spouses and kids. It was awesome.
Wow, that's
great.
awesome.
Yep.
It was really great. So, yeah, I just wanted to make sure, if you want to get registered for that, the captain's meeting is July 21st at Marina Cantina in Clearwater, and then the weigh-in and fishing day is Saturday, July 23rd, and we've got a lot of cool prizes, and we've got over $30,000 in cash and prizes that we're going to be giving away to people bringing in the big fish.
That's awesome. Yes. And I know Baystar Restaurants added some cool categories. What were those? It was big cash money, right?
Yep, black grouper. So whoever brings in the biggest black grouper, they're going to give $1,000. And then I call it the unicorn fish. Anybody who can catch a red snapper that's 20 pounds or more, whichever one is the heaviest of that, will also get $1,000.
To me, the black grouper category is more of a unicorn than a 20-pound red snapper. But
yeah.
I'm a little spoiled. I fish deep water a lot, but that black grouper is pretty cool, and that's awesome. Baystar Restaurants to do.
Absolutely.
Always makes me hungry when you talk about the cantina up
now,
there.
You're going to fish this, right, Dylan?
I mean, if I can get $1,000 to a Baystar restaurant, I'll fish it. But I don't know. Our fishing team was supposed to be part of it, but I haven't caught up with our lady anglers of Hubbard's Marina fishing team. I don't know if they had plans to or not, to be honest with you, Erica.
Gotcha.
But
it's going to be awesome. I'm super excited.
I hope so. And if they do, I'll be there because I hope they win that.
Yeah. There's lots of different ways to win, that's for sure. So that's the nice part.
Yep.
So, like, you can place first, second, or third in all the bottom fish in our bottom fishing category. You can place first, second, and third in all of our pelagics. And then let's say you've placed third all the way across the board in the bottom fishing category. Even though you're third, all your fish may add up to the heaviest of the aggregate in that one, and you could win the bottom master category also. So there's all different ways to win, which makes it nice.
Nice. And a lot of different ways to win means a great time at the captain's meeting too, a great restaurant to hold it at. So going to be a good time.
Absolutely.
Thanks for calling in. And tell everybody how they can get signed up and registered again, Erica.
Yep. Go to www.suncoastladiesclassic.com, and you can register directly there on the website. And if you have any questions, there's my phone number is right there on there, and you can call me directly.
Well, we appreciate it, Erica. Thanks for giving us the shout this morning, and good luck at the tournament this upcoming weekend. Hopefully I'll see you there.
Thank you, sir.
See you later. Have a good one. Suncoast Lady Anglers, Marina Cantina. Great restaurant. Baystar Restaurants. Everything they do is great. They have the Salt Rock Grill and seaweed. Seaweed is my favorite. It was the old Marlin Darlin. They changed it to seaweed.
Okay.
They have a octopus dish, appetizer. It's like a grilled octopus. It's life-changing.
Nice.
Really, truly life-changing. It's ridiculous. But not getting off track onto food, I promise. We've got Donald and Lutz. Donald, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Captain Dylan, Captain Charlie, and Captain Bobby. Hey, I've eaten a live baby octopus before.
Very good.
Nice.
At a sushi restaurant up in Massachusetts a few years ago.
Awesome.
That was interesting. That was cool. I ate 2 of them. Live baby octopus. It's like, wow, okay. Had to try it, you know?
Yeah, you got to try everything at once.
Some tequila.
That's what started it, right?
Yeah, exactly. It started with a margarita, led to straight tequila. But anywho, my whole family's in town. My daughter and son-in-law, the grandkids came in this week, and had a charter with Capt. Mike Anderson yesterday with my daughter Courtney and my grandson Henry.
That's
and
awesome.
he put them on snook. Courtney caught a bunch of snook, some nice snook, her first snook ever. Henry landed some more snook, and they're both registered in the CCA Star. So
Awesome.
they both got a bunch of fish in the conservation division. Nothing was over the 28 inches, but that's okay. But in the conservation, and Henry's part of the Real Animals Junior Pro staff. So he's got all his fish in that as well. So that's exciting. It was great. I mean, it's awesome, seeing that grandkid of mine smiling, he's reeling in big snook. Well, not big snook, but decent snook. And he's just smiling and innocent. Stop smiling and keep reeling. Stop you smiling and laughing. Keep reeling.
Keep turning that handle.
Yeah, it was great.
That's
Hey,
awesome.
Captain Charlie, I just want to thank you again. I was part of your group for Captain Sergio Tons with my granddaughter Ellie that you helped out. But what was that, 3 weeks ago, a month ago?
The kids clinic?
Yep, that was awesome, and I appreciate you doing that. She had so much fun. She's only 2.5, but I got some great pictures of her, fishing on the beach there, pulling in seaweed.
Yes. My group at that kids clinic caught a lot of seaweed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we set some kind of record.
Yeah, I'm glad that you made it out. And for the first time of that event, I think it turned out really well, and hopefully that turns into a yearly thing and continues to grow.
Definitely, because if from now, if it's put on every year, me and her, we will be there.
Awesome.
My other grandkids don't live in the state; they're in Memphis, Tennessee, because my son-in-law's in the Air Force, so they got to go where he gets stationed.
Mm-hmm.
But this one lives 10 minutes just north of me, so she will be getting back out there.
Perfect.
I took
That's
her
awesome.
freshwater fishing on a local pond 2 Saturdays ago, but didn't catch anything. But still great to be out there with her. So getting her to learn, she's not even 3 yet.
Nothing beats taking a kid fishing, that's for sure.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you, Donald, for the phone call. As always, we appreciate your report, and glad you had a good time with Captain Mike yesterday, and hopefully we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Absolutely. You guys take care. Stay safe out there. Tight lines, guys.
All right, buddy.
See you, Donald. Thank you, man. We've got Captain Jim Fogel with our Coast Guard safe boating tip of the week. How you doing this morning, Captain Jim?
I'm great, Captain Dylan, Captain Charlie, Captain Bobby. Everybody sounds good today.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
I
you,
got
Nick.
3 little short stories here.
Oh,
The
yeah.
first one,
Go for
pretty
it.
sad. Up in the Hudson River, a 24-foot boat with 13 people aboard sunk.
Whoa.
Two people died. Now, turns out the capacity plate on the boat was only 12, but that's ridiculous anyway for a 24-foot boat. Let's face it.
Yeah, a little bit.
They couldn't have been sitting down. It was just terrible, terrible. Now, we also want to throw out an attaboy to the Air Police Marine Patrol guys who last Tuesday, even in spite of the fact they were small craft warnings and they said there were 5-footers over there in their area, they went out to make a perimeter sweep and found a pontoon boat that was upside down. And there were several people in the water, eight boaters that they pulled out.
Wow. That was down in the Keys, right?
That was negative. No.
Really?
This is McDill.
Oh, wow.
Our guys over here.
Okay.
Yeah, right over here. But, 8 people's a lot. I don't know what size the boat was, but the main point there is most hull boats are not made for open water. The wind gets up under those hulls and that front, and it's pretty hairy. So I'm hoping they were running for cover and not just going out or something. But anyway, we want to give the guys over at McDill a good pat on the back for that. That was good.
For sure.
Now, there's one more here. Last weekend, a couple of guys were fishing. I think they were off of Fort Pierce, but I'm not sure. They had been out 130 feet, caught red grouper, were getting ready to go head back to another spot to find something, and all of a sudden they see something in the water. As they get closer, they find 2 divers that are floating around out there.
Wow.
Evidently, the boat the divers were on dropped them off on top of a reef and said, "Hey, we'll pick you up in an hour."
What? That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, this story is so crazy. I mean, it's hard to thank God they found these guys, but that's really, I have my Patty diver instructor would have never approved of that.
Yeah, I don't know. There's too many things wrong in that story to kind of give the safety tips. That we need a whole show to go over what they did wrong.
For real.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they're very, very fortunate guys, and hope they don't try that again.
Wow.
All right, guys, appreciate the time. You guys do good work on there. Keep up a good show for the Coast Guard Auxiliary in St. Pete. Jim Fogle, be safe out there.
Thank you, Captain Jim, as always, with our safe boating tip of the week. Keeping us on the right track and making sure we don't get ourselves in trouble. Always brings up some good stuff that kind of reminds me of things that we should be doing and should be keeping our focus on. You plan for the worst and hope for the best, right? That's kind of our motto in this industry. Remember, guys, you can join the conversation too, 1-800-969-9352. Bring your questions, comments, fishing reports. We've got a couple more segments left this morning where we're going to wrap up our conversation about what's going on now, what's coming up, and giving you some fishing tips and tricks. We also got our friend Captain Mike from Big Pine Key down there in beautiful Keys with a fishing report on the other side coming up. So stay right there. Real Animals Radio. We'll be right back.
Make this the year you go to our iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Friday, September 23rd.
I was going to say, did you have Fly Fest for all those people?
We actually had the big floaty mat, like the big
Oh,
floaty
yeah,
mat.
yeah.
We had
Under
one
the
of
boat for
we had one
additional
of those
stability.
tied off to the side, That's like that's friends and then every living member of her family from Louisiana.
I had a Carolina skiff, a 17-foot Carolina skiff. That was the little boat that I had for inshore fishing, and I got it when I was like 9 years old. It took me forever to save up for it, but we loaded that thing down so badly on more than one occasion, but it was always with like firewood, because we would camp on those little islands inside Johns Pass, what they call Archie's Island, and man, we'd go over to that Jungle Parada boat ramp, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump from the island, and we'd drive everybody out to the island, shuttle them all out there in the skiff, and then they'd be setting up the camp, and I would just make ferry trips from the boat ramp to the island, just loaded down with firewood. It was crazy.
That's awesome. I have a Carolina Skiff Johns Pass story. I think it's like sophomore year of high school. A buddy of mine had a J16, and we were camping at the KOA campground, just inshore from there.
Yeah.
And I mean, we didn't know any. We had never been to Johns Pass area or whatever. And we go catch some bait. And we're catching some inshore fish, and we run into some guy, and he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "There's big kingfish out off of Reddington Pier." We're like, "All right, cool man." And so we just start going out. We get about halfway out there. We're just in this little J16. And then I'm the one that looked around and went, we got like little 2,500 inshore. Why are we going kingfish? Where's the problem with this? So we turn around, we go back in, and we had a big 100-quart cooler. We're like sophomores in high school. This cooler is just full of beer. Okay? And so my buddy is driving, and we're going back through Johns Pass, and just don't pay attention to the no wake zone. I guess I don't know. I didn't realize it because I'm sitting backwards on the cooler. And so we get pulled over by Marine Patrol for running that no wake zone.
Yeah.
And he pulls up. He's like, "Where y'all going?" So I'm looking down. We have an empty cardboard container from a 12-pack, on the deck of the boat, and I just grab it with my foot, and slide it over, and try to hide it. He, thank God, didn't search the cooler, but he just yelled at us and let us go. We're like, "We're camping right there." He's like, "Well, just get back over there." "Yes, sir, no problem."
Are you still allowed to camp on those islands?
Yeah, to my knowledge. Archie's Island isn't regulated by anything. It's not really claimed, so you do whatever you want. It's a spoil island.
I'm surprised the freaking Audubon Society hasn't wrecked that.
But yeah,
it's going to be the Hubbard's Marina camping trips.
We actually used to do that.
Did you?
Yeah. My father used to operate a beach barbecue out there.
Oh, yeah?
So it was a 3-hour dolphin tour beach barbecue trip.
Cool.
And then we used to do, that island had a center clearing, and he actually went out there and trenched it and put a 3-inch drainage pipe so the interior of the island drained out and became dry, and he put up a volleyball net in there. And this was late 90s, early 2000s, and it was all painted with UV lights, and we go out there with a generator and black lights, and they played night spike volleyball.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
So you mentioned the beach barbecue thing. The old timers up in Homosassa, that's part of their inshore charters is the shore lunch thing.
Yeah, Mike was talking about that, how he did a show. I was like, dude, we used to do that all the time. But we got shut down because of health code, health department, because we were advertising a beach barbecue trip. And but then we tried to get just preparing frozen food, because if you take frozen food and just heat it up, it's a lot less strenuous. But even that, they wouldn't let us do it out on an island. It was frustrating.
They couldn't come in and inspect you.
Yeah. It's always funny when the health inspector shows up. They're wanting to inspect, because our galleys on our party boats are technically restaurants in the Florida Department of Health regulations. And they want to inspect the boat. And I'm like, sorry, that restaurant's closed. And they were like, yeah, well, even if a restaurant's closed, we have to inspect it. And I was like, well, that's a federally inspected vessel, and that's federal law. You cannot board that vessel unless the captain and crew are on board. And they always like to get upset when we tell them that, no, you're not going to inspect that restaurant. You got to call us and tell us.
That's going to make you feel good, though.
Yeah. Or our restaurant's offshore right now. Sorry.
100 miles out.
Good morning, y'all. Captain Dylan Hubbard here with our Bartow Ford Real Animals radio show presented by Hubbard's Marina on News Radio WFLA 970 in the iHeartMedia Empire studios this morning with Captain Bobby Woodard of Fly 'em High Charters, Captain Charlie Howell of Ebb and Flow Charters, talking fishing. We've got our friend Captain Mike from Big Pine Key on the phone with us here. How you doing, Captain Mike?
Hey guys, how y'all doing? Captain's outrageous in there today, huh?
Yeah, something like that. It's a takeover, Florida Guides Association takeover.
the takeover, yeah. I saw Mike last night over there at Walk On Bistro. He said he had a softball gig today and he wouldn't be in. So I'm actually up in the Tampa area. He came up because we got ICAST next week. So decided to come to the northern home. But the fishing in the Keys, I left them biting, that's for sure. The mahi bite is fantastic right now, just stellar.
Yeah, we got a small bull this week.
It's been in about 4 or 5 years.
Wow. We got a small bull this week offshore on a flat line, so they're starting to push north a little bit too, so it's good news for us up here. But you guys, I saw some posts down in the Keys, some really big dolphin coming in.
Yeah, we're getting nice rounds in the 20s and 25s.
Wow.
Of course, it coincides with every key has multiple dolphin tournaments going on now through the next couple months. So that's when they schedule them, when the big ones come in, So, but it's been great fishing in the Keys. Yellowtailing, fantastic. The snapper bite and the mutton snapper continue to help us fill the box, and black grouper and the deep dropping has gone out and doing some deep dropping, the tile fish and snowies and everything just coming up, barrel fish, pomfret, everything.
That's
just
awesome.
Fantastic fishing right now.
Water is hot and fishing is hotter. That's been my motto the last couple of weeks, and that's definitely true.
Exactly.
That's awesome, man. And any pelagic action besides the mahis you see in the wahoo, or have they sped past you?
They've sped past us. We had that epic wahoo season, what I call season, back earlier in the start of the spring time down here through the spring. It was very good wahoo. We're starting to see some small blackfins. The sailfish bite is really good too right now. All you have to do really, I've seen guys going out and 24, 25 center consoles on play, and we've had some really, really flat, calm days. Go out and come back with pictures of 3 or 4 sailfish. You find the bait pods.
Wow.
And they're pushing bait up to the surface, looking for, look for the birds. My biggest tip for people that want to come fish offshore and they got the equipment to do it, just go ahead and look for the birds diving. They're diving on bait. Underneath those bait, there's probably pelagics, mahi, sailfish, the works, and the occasional marlin. We had the big Key West marlin tournament coming up, and
that's awesome.
There's marlin around. I haven't seen any since the last couple we hooked back in the spring. But they tell me they're up and down the Keys, probably from Marathon all the way down through the Tortugas.
Well, very cool, man. I appreciate the report. How would someone get a hold of you and book one of those charters for one of those big mahi once you're back in town?
Sure. It's 813-434-8086, CaptainMichael47gmail.com, or simply call 1-866-GAME-FISHING. Mike Anderson will point you our way.
I appreciate it,
lines,
brother.
everybody, and good fishing. God bless.
All right, man.
You too.
See you, Mike. Always a pleasure to hear from our friends down in the Keys, and definitely the mahi bite is moving around the Gulf right now. Always cool to see those mahi swim up on you when you're offshore. Those telltale green flashes, kind of hard to miss when you're out there in the blue and purple water of the deep offshore. I mean, we see them shallow. Sometimes we caught mahi on our 5-hour half day 3 weeks ago now. And the chicken dolphin, the smaller ones, kind of 24-inch size range and under, we see them quite often get shallow, 30, 40 foot of water this time of year. But the big boys that he was talking about, 12, 20 pounds, we really only see offshore, but always a welcome sign when they start running this time of year.
He mentioned wahoo. Have you been seeing some wahoo offshore?
We did. We saw some really big wahoo. Mid-May, we caught 190. It weighed in at 95 pounds. When I stuck a gaff in its head, I thought it was 120 pounds.
Yeah.
It's the biggest wahoo I've ever seen, personally. It was a monster.
That is a monster.
Yeah, and we see them quite a bit in the late spring, kind of to early fall range, and throughout the summer. It just kind of depends on where those currents are falling. But We're going to talk about that and more on the other side, guys. Remember, you can join us. We got one last big segment of the morning, 1-800-969-9352. Real Animals Radio. We'll be right back.
News.
Yeah, it's this time of year is when we see those wahoo most. It starts once they pass the Keys, later May, through like early fall. They run up into the northern Gulf to stay a little cooler this time of year, and they are constantly kind of bouncing between the northern Gulf down to the middle grounds and in between there. So we see them. It just depends on where those sea surface temperatures and those current rips are. But I would say most commonly in the summertime, we're running across like the cobia, the kingfish, the blackfin, the occasional mahi. Wahoo gets pretty far down the list once the water gets this hot.
Yeah. A couple of years back, I fished the Fall King of the Beach with a buddy of mine, and I was just an angler. I had no input as to where we were going or anything, whatever. And so we leave out of Fort DeSoto Ramp at like 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever. So he wants to fish north, so we start running north. It's pitch black. We're following a Freeman out, and I'm in a beanbag, bundled up, nasty weather, of course, bundled up in the back corner in a beanbag, like half asleep. We're heading out of Bunce's Pass, and I hear the Freeman in front of us, wah, 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 wah. And I'm like, oh, that Freeman just went airborne. And I start like grabbing, dude, and we're on a 27 Grady White, so I mean, I'm soaked already. I'm like, great, this is going to be fun. So we run up and we fish, whatever. We caught a couple fish. We're running back in, and I'm like half asleep in the beanbag. And they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I hear the engines, come down. And they're like, grab a bait, grab a bait. So I grab bait, just toss it out. Don't know what we're doing. He goes up, spins the boat around. I look, there's a sail. Dude, we're in like 30 feet of water. I'm like right off the Don Cesar, we're coming back from north. Right off the Don, 30 feet of water. I look, and there's a sail just lit up, bro. Like at first it wasn't. You just a long dart, Yeah. And so we're thinking it's a kingfish, So he spins around. We get the blue runner just right in front of it, and it kind of turns. And when it turns, the sail popped up, and it lit up all purple. And I'm like, whoa. So we make a couple more passes. It doesn't want to eat. And at that point, we had to get back because we were waiting the ladies' fish. But
when they're on the surface sunning themselves, they're not going to eat.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. I mean, for me being an inshore guy, it was still a cool experience.
That is awesome.
I didn't know a lot about sailfish at all, but I went down to Costa Rica with Mike Anderson way back in the day to fish that Costa Rica resort that he goes to, and we caught like 6 or 7 sailfish in 3 days, and I got the bug for offshore trolling. It was fun. No, it's not us. Coming back here, we caught a sailfish, same thing, like 35 foot of water off the Reddington Long Pier, like that hard bottom area. We were trolling planers and spoons for kingfish, and sure enough, right in the spread, I look back and here's a bill batting my spoon out of the water. I was like, it was pretty cool. So we definitely have them here. It's just the time of year when you happen to see them along the coast.
Glenn Taylor's had quite a few encounters.
Glenn is a sailfish whisperer for sure. Yeah. But he chases the pelagics a lot more than most. Mark Feewax does the same thing. They do like you were talking about your buddy. He goes out of Boca Grande and tarpon fishes, then runs offshore, bottom fishes, comes back and tarpon fishes. That's what Glenn and Mark and a lot of those 6-pack guys, like my friend Frank does the same thing in his yellowfin. They'll do some bottom fishing, but they also do a lot of trolling. Trolling, pelagic fishing, targeting those artificial reefs, chunking for live bait. Like Glenn will catch permit and stuff too, because he does a lot of
permit master. Man.
And he's targeting a lot of those offshore artificial reefs, wrecks, springs.
Years ago, I went to a seminar that him and Billy Nobles were doing together about permit fishing, nearshore permit fishing. I was like, I gotta learn something. I gotta pick up a few tips and just go try it, and then learn on my own.
He's a permit master for sure.
Yeah, this is a time of year when I wish that I was a little bit closer to the Gulf. To where I could specifically target tarpon and permit. Yeah. Because off of like Passage Key and Egmont, it's like lights out.
Oh yeah.
and I've never done it. I've done it before. Back in my old used red fisher, man, I was pulling the freaking Passage Key flat.
Yeah. Well, that's what Anderson was telling me one day, is that just on the west side of Egmont, you can get a lot of permit on that sandbar.
Yeah. I've got them fishing the tarpon drift before, actually. So, you just kind of play with your drift. And I basically had to bow my boat on the beach. I was fishing that immediate drop. And we're almost at the end of the drift, and crab just and it's running, but it's not jumping. I'm like, the line angle staying. I'm like, the big bull redfish or something other than tarpon. Sure enough, big old permit.
Yep.
I got confused. They're showing a great white on the screen here. The red grouper. Oh, that's Eric Allman. Oh, that's cool. She's promoting her fishing tournament.
That's who just called in?
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Do you ever call the chick from God, I just had a brain fart.
I was like, what?
No, you called me asking for the
waterkeeper, Tampa Bay waterkeeper?
No,
Because we were talking about them
but the
at
other
the last meeting.
I had a meeting with that guy.
Did you?
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
Whoever
You were talking about Tampa Bay Estuaries.
the estuary program. Yeah.
No, I didn't call her. I was looking for her number because that captain, Chris I forget his name, but he was trying to look for her contact info.
Okay.
So I just passed it along.
All right.
Ford Real Animals Radio Show, presented by Hubbard's Marina. Now your captains, Mike Anderson and Dylan Hubbard.
Good morning, Captain Dylan Hubbard here on the Bartow Ford Real Animals Radio Show, presented by Hubbard's Marina on News Radio WFLA 970 in beautiful iHeartMedia studios this morning with our friends Captain Bobby Woodard of Ebb and Flow Charters. And, I messed that one up. Captain Bobby Woodard of Fly 'em High Charters and Captain Charlie Howell of Ebb and Flow Charters. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, that's
all good.
I was really good there. I was like 3 for 4, 4 for 5. Not bad.
Millionaire in the major leagues.
Yeah, exactly. I like it. I like my batting average. We've got Dan from Seminole with the fishing report this morning. How you doing, Dan?
Dylan, what's going on, bro? It's Dan the Fishman. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, my man. How are you, Dan?
Fantastic, dude. Just been getting after it. Did some kayak trips this week and also got to get in the bay with my buddy on his boat and did a little bit of near shore fishing. So I was going to let you guys know what's going on.
Awesome, man. Give us that report. How'd you do?
Fantastic. So started off the week in the kayak, fishing early mornings. Hit the pass one day, did well on snook. And then after that, I've been hitting the mangroves majorly. Big snook underneath the mangroves during the high tides. Look for the tide swings. Outgoing's been better for me. And I've been chunking up mullet and also big, large shrimp if you can find them. Been working really well under the mangroves.
Man, finding big, large shrimp right now is a challenge, a big challenge. It's crazy.
It's tough, man. But I got some guys who are really nice, and they let me pick through their bait wells and get the good ones out. So it's nice to have good friends that have good bait.
Yeah, that's always nice. I'm not one of those guys. I cannot seem to get good shrimp right now, unfortunately. I try to pick through the tank myself at 5 a.m., and it's hard to find a big shrimp in there. It's tough this time of year for sure.
Yeah.
But
that's been the trick for the mangroves. And then offshore, we've been doing well. We got into some hog fishing about 40 foot last week, which was pretty exciting. It was like right at the beginning of July, so that was really cool. And then this week we did well just a couple miles out of the bay, and we were getting into some just missing keeper size gags. They were like 23.5, 20, 22, but we were doing really well. So they should be there as the water starts going down through the year.
Amen to that. Once those cold fronts start, they'll start rolling back in there in the bay. But that's good news, man. I appreciate the phone call and the fishing report, and glad to see you're on the fish again.
Yeah, man. Got to stay on them. Hey, thanks for everything, guys. Dylan, thank you for everything you do, man. You are awesome. You help us all out a lot, and we appreciate you, brother. So hope you all have a great day. Tight lines, guys.
Anytime, brother. You have a good day. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. Dan the Fishman on YouTube. Check him out. It's got a pretty cool YouTube channel. Average Joe angler, just out there making some cool content on his kayak and stuff, and everything that you could do Doesn't require a fancy boat or anything like that. You can pick up some cool shoreline tips, bridge fishing tips, pass fishing tips. Pretty cool little channel he's got going on. And definitely brought up the cut deadbait again. I want to know where he's getting his shrimp.
Yeah, me too.
Me too. That's the biggest thing from that phone call that I want to know. It's tough right now. In Johns Pass is just choked with snook. Every morning our boats are doing that 39-hour trip a lot, so the Florida's not at its slip. And whenever the Florida's not there in the morning, or when it's coming back right before it gets back, the pass or that slip in the dock is just, snook, you could almost walk across them all the way out to the light line and all the way back to underneath the dock. And man, are they picky. They'll chew if you got 20-pound fluoro or 30-pound fluoro, but you're just going to break them off.
Yeah.
If you got 40 or 50-pound fluoro, you got a chance to land them, but then they won't eat.
You got to hook a fish before you can worry about losing it.
Yep.
That's true. That's a good point. But what I've found is that 50-pound fluorocarbon helps to land the fish, and you can get them to eat it if you have that alluring bait. That big shrimp, they don't care. They'll come up and crush it. It's like, I haven't seen one of those in months. And they come up and crush it.
Call Dan the fish man.
Yeah, apparently. Or the pass crabs. I've noticed they love those pass crabs floating through there. So definitely very orientated to certain baits. And I've hooked a few on the mirror lure, Mirrodine XL, but unfortunately didn't get them to chew until I went down to 20-pound fluoro. And you know how that story ended with my mirror lure swimming away from me, unfortunately. But it's definitely been a challenge. Very leader-shy fish.
Well, is the Florida out now?
The Florida is currently, today's Saturday. It's out.
I'll see you tomorrow morning.
All right. Tomorrow morning they'll be coming back. So you have to get there early before 5:30. But I'll see you there as well.
Roger that.
It is definitely a lot of fun around those docks. Speaking of the Florida Guides Association, as we were earlier, the man, the myth, the legend, Captain Scott Moore himself is on the line. How you doing this morning, Scott?
Good morning. Good job with that Guides Association there, Dylan. Really appreciate everything you do.
Hey, no worries.
Really happy about that FWC making decision on the redfish, too.
Yes, definitely a positive step forward on the redfish thing. Even if you don't agree with it, it finally puts into motion the skeleton system that they need to massage. Like they said, the FWC staff member said it best. They're not going to get it right first try and trying to establish a new approach to these regulations, but it sets into place kind of the guidelines that they can massage and hopefully get right, and then they can apply that to snook, redfish, and trout. And to your other comment about
the only
go ahead,
Dylan. The only criticism I have lately on a lot of the fish regulations is worldwide you manage a fishery by changing the slot too, and they need to bring that redfish up to 22 inches. There's that 18 inches is way too small, and that's my personal opinion. Okay, on that. But even the snook, that needs to be changed too. And there's nothing wrong with keeping a fish. They could bring that 26 to 30 inches on snook, and you'd have a great fishery, and people would take a fish home. That fish at 28 inches, almost 7 years old.
Wow.
That's almost 2 freezes when you think about it.
Yep, that's definitely a good way of doing it. The only thing that concerns me is that discard mortality, and we see that a lot offshore. Inshore, we still see discard mortality. It's not quite as high on redfish. Snook is up there a little bit. Trout is absolutely ridiculous, and I think that's
right. And they need to go to 2 snook per boat too. You still have a fishery. People could take a fish home, split it up. And it's gotten to that point. Hey, I got the secret on the shrimp, the big shrimp.
All right, let's hear it.
Use an artificial.
That's what I said. You didn't hear the rest of it.
It works. It works, especially inshore. It works. Okay.
You didn't hear the rest of it. I said I use that mirror lure, Mirrodine XL. I like it too. It's just something about fishing between a boat, a piling, and 30 dock lines. You don't have a lot of room to work and cast a lure. I think lures work really
No, that's
well
true.
if
That's
you
true.
have the space
It's
to set
what
it up.
what they call technical.
Yes. Now
when it gets technical for people, it's a little different, you know.
If my father's listening, he's probably shaking his head right now because he taught me the figure 8 maneuver under
Old
the
school.
dock. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that does work
Yeah.
well, but when they're this leader shy like they are right now, it doesn't work, unfortunately. But
Yeah. Oh yeah, the old switch pole days. I know a lot of wrists that were broken when the tarpon hit instead of the snook.
yes, yeah, I've almost lost a hand on a hand line for that reason, because we hand line them a lot for the same reason. We just don't have a lot of space there, so a hand line's a little easier to control when the boat's sitting there at the dock. But definitely a lot of fun.
So another, you go ahead.
No, go take it away, Scott.
Yeah, I wanted to know now, with that sand they're going to take out of that pass, are you guys going to sell it for sandboxes? Or are they going to put it back on the beach, that beautiful powdered turtle sand that comes around? You know, when they do the beach renourishment, they actually put a powdered sand on the top so the turtles can nest, okay? And we've got the same problem in Longboat Pass, okay?
Yeah.
It comes back around and fills the pass up.
Yeah.
Okay, and they need to keep these passes dredged out. First of all, it's commercial traffic in and out, and it's a safety
Yeah.
thing too. People, they think they got a beach there and they can go swimming.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about it. Yeah, I've been fighting that fight for.
I knew that would hit you.
Yeah.
I knew that would hit you. We got the same thing at Longboat Pass.
Yeah,
Same thing.
I've been hearing
Same
that
thing
quite a
going.
bit. And as far as John's Pass goes, the money's been allocated, so they should start the dredge soon. What we're pushing for is them starting that after snook and tarpon are off the beaches, after sea turtle nesting season is open. So hopefully like a November timeline, and the idea with where the sand's going to go, at least the conversation so far, has been they're going to move the sand onto Madeira Beach to replace the sand dunes that Hurricane Ada took out.
Oh, good.
Because Madeira Beach
you're taking a negative, making a positive out of it. That's great.
Exactly. That's the
great.
goal.
Thank you for all you do with Florida Guides Association. If you're a guide out there, you need to join that organization. It's part of your future, and it's what you need to do, you know, to help improve our fisheries in the state of Florida. Definitely.
Well,
good fishing, everybody.
Thank you, Scott.
You too, Scott.
We appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much. One of the founders of the Florida Guides Association right there. And like I mentioned earlier, Captain Charlie Howell and Captain Bobby Woodard are both Florida Guides Association board members. And Scott thanked me for all I've done for the Florida Guides Association, but I don't think any of us could have gotten to where we are today without all the board members. We definitely have been blessed to get a lot of hardworking and dedicated people onto the board, like both the gentlemen in studio with me this morning. And we've been blessed to take on some guides on the East Coast. We got Captain Jonathan Moss. We've got Captain TJ Saunders in the Big Bend. We've got Captain Travis Thompson, who's our hunting regional director, Steve Lamp down in the Keys. We've got Matt Ponzio, Captain Charlie Phillips in the Everglades. There's quite a few board members. Yeah, TJ up in the Big Bend. So we're definitely growing. Captain Jason Prito, Captain Tim Whitfield in Tampa Bay as well. So we're definitely growing the board, and with a growing board, more active board, we've been able to accomplish a lot more recently and been more active at the FWC. So hopefully continue to grow this year. Check us out, florida-guides.com. And if you're looking to send your client somewhere, if you're a guide and a client calls you, I want to find a guide down in the Keys, or if you're a recreational fisherman thinking about taking a trip, florida-guides.com is going to show you all the listings of all our members. And any of our members are going to be insured. They're going to have their Coast Guard Consortium card. They're going to have their captain's license. You can book with confidence and find a guide at florida-guides.com. And that's also, if you're a guide, that's also how you sign up right there through our website as well. So check it out. And Real Animals Radio is going to be back for our last short segment of the morning here after some commercial breaks. Don't touch that dial. We're going to wrap it up and tell you what's coming up, what to look forward to. Stay right there. We'll be right back.
So I was biting my tongue with Scott's comment about artificial.
Yeah.
Very ironic coming from the godfather of live bait snook fishing. the founder, the one and only Scott Moore, legend status. Just use it artificial. There's no need to get 50,000 white baits and chum them.
I had a guy on the boat a couple weeks ago, it might have been a month ago now, but he used to book Scott for tarpon trips down in Boca, and Justin down in Bradenton.
Justin is fishing hard, holy moly.
And he actually said, this has been one of the best trips I've been on. And I'm like, God almighty, dude.
Wow.
I'm like, legend. And dude, it
That's a
wasn't even
compliment.
that, like, spectacular, in my opinion. I mean, we
What's up, dudes?
Hey, man, I was just wondering, are you going to take any? I don't have anybody right
No.
now. No calls for the final segment?
No, because both these guys want to give them a chance to plug their business
That's
and
what I was figuring.
kind of wrap it up.
All right, cool, man.
Thanks, Dukes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that's quite the compliment.
And then we started talking about Justin's boat. And I was like, God almighty, dude. Have you seen that boat?
No.
It's a T-craft, isn't
Dude,
it?
a 27 T-craft. It's the first one out of the mold.
Wow.
It's beautiful.
It's not hole number 3.
No, it's hole number 1, which I'm happy with hole number 3 of a Woodard custom. That's what I'm starting to tell everybody.
B&B Boat Works.
Woodard custom.
That's what's in the works. We're doing the LLC and all that crap. So
What is it?
B&B Boat Works.
B&B Boat Works. All right.
Because my dad and I are kind of doing it together, and he's Bob Senior, I'm Junior. So
B&B. That's cool.
Well, I want hole number 3. Damn it. I was actually talking to my wife the other day. I'm looking in the front yard, and I'm like, well, we're not gonna be able to park the boat in the driveway. I was like, we're gonna have to use the other part of the yard here.
There's good interest. I mean, Lineberger wants one. A couple other dudes down south want one. I mean, there's some pretty good interest. So, which made me feel good. I mean, Lineberger's got a freaking Avenger, and he's like, yeah, dude. He's like, I mean, I like it. He's like, I just need something bigger.
Yeah.
And, yeah, he's seen mine the last 3 years that I've been fishing it.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome.
It's a beautiful.
TBD.
That's
TBD on B&B.
I met David Galls, and like a week later, all of a sudden he wants to build boats, and I'm like, what gave you that idea?
So she finally came around because I was like, look, you were a hard no on me driving to Chalmette, Louisiana, and buying this boat and bringing it back and restoring it, whatever. And now you love it. Like you see my vision that I saw prior. You now see it and agree with it. She's like, okay.
Plus, I made him buy an old, crappy, like almost tear down house and remodel it with me. So.
Yeah.
It's only fair.
I mean,
when we moved back from Key West, we bought the house literally right next door. We had the shared driveway in between. That's like how close it is. We bought the house right next door, tore it down to the studs, and well, there are no studs. It's all block walls, but tore it down and rebuilt it. And it's a rental.
That's awesome.
And that was her vision that I was against. So it balances.
Yeah.
I think this is us. Bringing the heat with the new music this week. Captain Dylan Hubbard here for the Bartow Ford Real Animals radio show by Hubbard's Marina. We are in studio this morning with Captain Charlie Howell of Evan Flow Charters and Captain Bobby Woodard of Fly 'em High Charters, talking fishing. And we talked a little bit earlier on in the show about what we're looking at as far as what's going on this week. But what's coming up, guys? We'll start with you, Charlie. What do you see coming up? What's on your radar? What are you looking forward to in the fishery in the next coming weeks, months?
So I'm coming up on the time of year where I slow down, and I'm looking forward to some vacation time. August, I got a few trips booked already. September, I have a few, and it's It's hot.
Yeah.
And the fishing is slow unless you get an early bite.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're snapper fishing or mackerel fishing, then you can get throughout the day. But I'm looking forward to a little bit of lag time.
Yeah. You do any night fishing?
I don't. I actually had somebody reach out to me for a charter last week, which I never booked. But they actually asked about nighttime fishing, and I said I could. A couple of years ago, I actually advertised that pretty heavily.
Yeah.
For August and September, and I did a few, and it's weird, you got
to either fully commit or
not.
Right.
And it's something before I started guiding, I did all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I lived at the Reddington Long Pier or Courtney Campbell Causeway and snook fished like religiously throughout August, September at night.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you start guiding and you start your morning shift,
mm-hmm.
you kind of get away from it. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll have a little bit of fun time. In the next couple months.
Do some night fishing. I always find it fun, especially right before sunrise when that bite is like premium.
Yeah.
But I also am a little bit kind of cheating in the fact that I kind of look ahead on Salt Strong makes that Smart Fishing Tides website, and it gives you a 1 out of 10 score to tell you what day the bite is going to be the best based on the currents and the salooners. And then it will actually tell you hour by hour what the best time is. And so it makes it real easy. If it's like a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, yeah, I'll make it down there an hour early to catch a snook.
Yeah, and you basically work right in the snook capital of the world, basically. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been doing it wrong. I've got the salooner table here, the tide table here. I've got all this stuff trying to moon. I need to get that app, man.
Yeah, dude, the Smart Fishing Tides through Salt Strong is awesome. Definitely a huge benefit of their membership. Plus, they just released an app that's like an all-in-one, and they're still kind of working some of the kinks out of it, but it is nuts. It gives you the radar, bathymetrics. It shows you where the grass flats are, where the oyster beds are. It shows you the tides. It shows you the weather forecast, the bathymetric or the barometer information. It has overlays offshore with sea surface temps, chlorophyll. I mean, It's all in one fishing app. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so, I'm gonna have to check that out. Those guys got something going for sure.
They're making it too easy for people.
I think that's the point, teaching people how to fish. Yeah, definitely. Technology has gone so far. But what about you, Bobby? What's coming up for you?
So much the same as Charlie. Kind of slowing down. The post spawn tarpon bite is pretty much done now. There's still a few stragglers spawning, but it's going to remain good up throughout the fall. When we start getting cold fronts, around October, November, more of a backcountry kind of thing, up in the harbor. But the snapper bite, keep doing that, up until again cold fronts start coming. And then transition into some general flats fishing, trout, snook, redfish stuff. Next couple months, I'll be doing some scallop stuff up in Homosassa here and there.
Nice.
But yeah, kind of taking it easy until the fall kind of transition happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of scallops, is it today or yesterday was the opening of Pasco, right?
Yesterday, I believe.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm getting mixed reports throughout the whole region. I've not personally been yet.
Yeah.
But getting you got to kind of weigh out, how reliable the source is, because the reports are all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, from good to bad. I've heard the same. It's hard to nail down what works well where, but we are up against it, guys. Don't forget, August 16th, Bartow Ford Fishing Conversation with Captain Brett Norris, Captain Mike Anderson, and the good people from Silver Ring Cafe, bringing lots of great food. Also, July 24th, 2 p.m., we got our Bass Pro Shops Fishing Conversation at Bass Pro in Tampa. How do you get a hold of you, Bobby, if you want to book a charter with you?
Yeah, sure. Phone number is 863-224-1418. Email bwoodard, WOODARD 240 @gmail.com, or just go to the website, which is captain-bobby, BOBBY.com.
What about you, Captain Charlie?
You could get with me at www.ebbandflowcharters.com or Captain Charlie Howell at email. Gmail. That's it, not email, Gmail. Or 813-598-1191. And it's on Instagram and Facebook as Ebb and Flow Chargers as well.
Nice. Well, that was it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the show this morning, Real Animals Radio Show. Don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Join us tomorrow, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on WDAE. We're out. We'll see you next week, guys.
See you.
The preceding program was paid for by Real Animals Fishing.
WFLA Tampa, WXT.
Yeah, they're kind of strict on the end of the show.
Right. It's like you're at the Oscars. You're up there. Yeah, I like to think so, and then the music's playing.
They're trying to play you off the stage. Yeah. Here, Charlie, slide onto camera so we can see, the people can see what you look like. Thank you guys for coming in this morning and joining us. Hopefully you enjoyed it.
Yeah, man,
enjoyed having you guys. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the show this morning. Don't forget, tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. we've got our Sunday night live stream show. And we'll be back next week, Saturday, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. And Captain Mike should be back next week as well. Talking fishing. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this this chance at those good mangrove snapper, snook on the beach. The red snapper bites in full swing, so get out there on the water. And this week, that last quarter moon's probably going to make things a little slow. Yeah. But new moon's not far behind. Water will start moving again, and probably another good final push of tarpon. That outbound tide yesterday afternoon was a pretty darn big one, and there was a lot of tarpon.
Big negative.
Yeah, big tarpon schools rolling through the pass. So hopefully that continues into the new moon. Do they roll like that on new moons too?
Yeah, because you get the same tides. You get those
it's all about the flush.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, interesting. Well, there you have it, guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching, and thanks for listening in this morning. Thanks for joining us.
See ya.